Hi, this is Peggy, your Adult Program Coordinator at the Lincoln County Public Library. Today we're going to make this cute little macrame bracelet, and it has an initial bead. Whenever you come pick up your kit, you'll tell them which initial you'd like to have, and they'll pick your bead out for you. And it also has an adjustable closure, which we'll show you how to do later in the video. The first thing we need to do is take a measurement of our wrist. We're going to measure from right about here where the bead would be to right about here, and we're going to stop just a little bit short of coming to the center to leave room for our closure. If you don't have a flexible tape, you can make one with just a little strip of paper. I just cut a little strip of paper like this, and each one of my blocks on my cutting board, it represents an inch, but you can use a ruler if you don't have a cutting board. And I'm just going to measure along there, and this would be 1 inch, 2, 3, and 4. A little piece of tape is helpful, so I'm going to put that right there and stick it to the back at about half where the bead would be, and just roll it around. Okay, now I don't want to come all the way to the center, so about 3 is about right for me. So whatever your measurement is, just make a notation of that, and that's how many square knots we'll make, how many inches of square knots we'll make. We're going to set up our strings so we can start doing our square knots. In your kit, you've got 3 shorter strings. They're about 15 inches long. One of them we're going to lay aside because we're going to use it later to make our closure with. The other 2 we're going to tape down to our work surface. I'm using a cutting board for my work surface, but you could use a table or a desk or any other surface that you might have. Before I tape it down, I'm going to allow about 3 inches of tails, and that is to allow for this part of the closure. So I'm going to tape it right about there. Okay. And then also in your kit, you've got a much longer piece of string. It's about 5 feet long, and we need to find the center of it. So first I'm going to find the both ends. I'll just pull them till we make it to the center. Kind of pinch that, and I'll hold my thumb there to keep track. And it's going to go up under these 2. Okay, then we're just going to make a simple knot and tie it to the 2 that are already there. Okay, so these 2 will remain in the center, and then we've got half of our long one on this side and half on this side. Okay, now we're ready to start making our square knots. We've got our 2 that's going to remain right down through the center, and we've got our long one on each, the right and one on the left. So the first thing we're going to do is take the left one and make like a C, and it'll go over top of these 2 that are in the center. And then we'll take our right one and find the end and push it up under all of the strings. It comes right up through there, and then we snug that down. And that's half of a square knot. Now we alternate sides when we're making square knots. So we go to the right side next and make a backward C. We take the left string and put it up under everything again. And we just continue doing this, alternating sides as we go. Okay, and you just continue with that until you have the measurement that you took on the wrist. I'm going to go to 3 inches on mine. So I'm going to come back in a few minutes. When I get to that point, I'll let you continue making square knots, and I'll be back in just a second. We have our 3-inch section of square knots finished, and so now it's time to put our bead on, and it'll go on these 2 strings that are running right down through the center. We're using an alphabet bead today, and it has a 1 millimeter hole in the center. So this is going to be a really snug fit. If it won't go, I'll show you a couple of tricks to get it to go. This thread is slightly waxed, so you can pinch it together a little. Let's see if it'll go. Okay, it's a little snug, so let me show you a little trick. Pinch them together. We'll take a sharp pair of scissors and cut this on an angle. Now if you're younger, get somebody to help you with this part. Okay, and that makes it a little more pointed. If you continue to have trouble, you can put just a little bit of glue from a glue stick on it. Okay, I can see it coming through. Okay, and then just work it up like this. Okay. Now that we have our bead on, we'll continue making square knots just like we did on this side. So we'll make a C again. And we just snug that up pretty good on this one. And kind of make sure that the string is off to the side here. And off to the side on this side too. Pull it good and tight. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, now we'll alternate back on this side. Okay, that's one square knot. So we'll just keep going. Just like we did on the other side. Okay, I'm going to stop the video again and come back whenever I have 3 inches done. Okay, I've just completed my next 3 inches of square knots. We still have our 2 strings going right down through the center. We're going to leave those alone. We're going to take the strings that are on the sides and we're going to just tie those into a simple knot and snug that right down around that. And for now, I'm going to cut them just a little long. When we get completed, we're going to cut them a little shorter and put a little dab of glue on them and a few other loose ends. Okay, we're ready to move on to our next step. Now that we have both sections of our square knots finished, we're getting ready to make our closure, and before we do that, we need to put some little overhand knots in the end, and that will keep the closure from slipping right off. Just like that. Now we're ready to make our adjustable closure. I'm going to circle these around and tape these ends down because it'll be much easier to work with that way. So I just have a little bit of painter's tape here handy. You can use whatever kind you'd like. Put some on that end. Then I'm going to pick up my piece of 15-inch string that we laid back earlier, and I'm going to slide it up under all of these. And we're going to use the same kind of knot that we did on the bracelet, the square knot. So the first thing we do is just make the C again. Push that up through there. Once you get the first one, it's much easier because it ties everything together. Not quite as hard to handle. Okay, and then we're going to still alternate sides like we did before. Okay, we've done 2 complete square knots. I'm going to do about 2 more. Okay, there's one more. Do one more. Okay, that should be good. I'm going to do just a simple knot to finish it off. And I'm going to clip these just a little bit long for right now. Later on we'll cut them a little shorter and put a dab of glue on them. It just slides. So it makes an adjustable closure. You can get it on your wrist that way. There you go. Okay, the last thing we need to do is put just a little dabs of glue on some of the little strings that we have left over. So I trimmed these off, and I'm going to put just a little bit of Elmer's glue. If you see anything fraying, you might try something a little stronger, like maybe some fabric glue or something else you might have on hand. And then I had a little tail here that I trimmed off. And I'm going to put just a little dab on it. We have to be careful not to get too much on this because this does have to slide. We're going to make sure it's still sliding. Just like that. Hope you enjoyed making this bracelet craft. You can also use some really pretty colored strings like these. If you're using a larger string like this, you might want to get a different type of bead that has a larger hole. Some of the square beads have a 2mm hole, and that should be just fine. Join us next time. Hope you had fun.